Welcome to Friday Fish Facts. I'm your host, Ron DeSantis. Today we have got the master breeder in the house, Mr. Dean Tweeddale. Dean, hello, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, how are you? It's fun to be on. I'm just getting everything set up here on my end, but yeah, this is gonna be a fun night, I'm sure.
I'm sure a lot of people, I have my normal set of questions here, about 20 to 25 questions, but questions are not going to be a problem tonight because I'm sure a lot of people are going to be asking you a lot of questions.
There you go.
And you've been a busy guy lately, though. What have you been up to? We were just talking a little bit off air about what you've been doing the last week or so. Maybe let everyone know.
Well, I would say in about the last week and a half, I've had Corey over, Jimmy over, the Turtle Girl, Bentley, and Lucas. And then we also went to Joel Corvus Oskin's place. So it's been a busy time.
I know a lot of people request that you have your own YouTube channel, but
Yeah.
you've been in about 5 videos this week, so
Exactly.
you're keeping busy with it.
Yeah. Well, the idea eventually is to have my own.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of the time too.
So you are planning on doing your own YouTube channel one day?
One day,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to start right at the beginning, and I have heard this story before, but I think it's a great story, and that's how you got your first fish and where that first fish lived. Can you tell the folks about your first fish?
Yeah. So my very first fish ever. In fact, I think it's the very first fish in our family. Came from my mom's best friend. She was I called her the lady down the street.
Yeah.
I was weeding her garden. We used to get paid by the 3-pound coffee can full of weeds, or 5-gallon bucket full of weeds.
Yeah.
And so I had been weeding. It's a hot, sunny day, and I come in when I'm done, and she's going to pay me. And I see this tank of fish on her counter. Mm-hmm. So those are cool. And so, long story short, she ends up paying me with 4 fish, 2 males, 2 female guppies. And, and I've got them in a little, I can't remember, like a Tupperware container, whatever it was back then. Get back home, and we have no place to put them. So I kept them literally in the toilet bowl overnight.
And how old are you at the time?
I think I was around between 6 and 7, right in that area.
Okay.
So, and we had 2 baths in the house. So that whole night, every time I heard the toilet flush, I was like running. You didn't flush my fish, because you never knew. So I had taped the door shut and everything. So that was the first ones I got, And soon I had more than 4.
King Lee is wondering, he's over in the chat here, that's Twin City Guppies, if he can come visit next.
Yep. Oh, if he could come visit here. Yeah, as long as he brings me some guppies.
There you go, King.
There. Yeah.
So I'm going to start right off and give you a question from the chat here. And It's from Terry Lindsay. And he says that, I know you travel to Vancouver, British Columbia. How often are you up in my neck of the woods? Do you have a favorite local fish store in our market?
So I go to Vancouver about 3 weekends a month. My wife is the president of the Vancouver Symphony Orchestra. Mm-hmm. But I'm not quite able to leave Seattle area here and live with her. I have a contract with the school district, and I'm also caring for my elderly parents. So me and my wife decided that we would just make this work and see each other on the weekends. Mm-hmm. So I go up, like 3 weekends a month. Sometimes it's just 1 day. Sometimes it's 3 days. Most time it's 2 days. And as far as shops, I've probably been to every one that I can find, except for the underground ones, which I really want to know where they're at. And so there's, I might not get all the names right.
Have you seen Brendan Flynn yet at work?
Not at work. No. but that shop, that's in Surrey. That's a nice shop. And one thing is, a lot of the shops up there are not fish only, right?
Yes.
They're full line pet stores. The other one is the one right downtown, which is kind of an ADA shop. Can't remember what it's called, but someone in the chat will know it.
There's a few downtown. I've actually got some clown loaches that are in quarantine at a shop called April's Aquariums right now.
I met April one time. Yeah. She's kind of a cool lady.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Small shop, but her livestock, really good.
She does, and good prices too. 2.5 inch clown loaches for $8, and she puts them through the quarantine cycle for a week.
So and then King Ed's.
Yeah, that's been there forever. Yeah.
That shop is a very cool shop, especially for the dry good ends.
Yes.
I'm not as impressed with their fish as I am their dry goods, but they do have some of the larger cichlids and stuff that you don't see in some of the other shops.
King Ed's is good because they have, like, if you're missing a piece of a filter that broke off, they're going to have that little $5 piece without you having to
exactly
find it. Yeah.
In fact, when I was there last, they were trying to help find a guy a second light for his fluval edge. He wanted to add another light bar.
Oh yeah.
And they were helping him find that.
Cool. I got another question here from the chat.
Okay.
This one's from Jay Johnson. German blue rams breeding question. I have a pair and a 20 long. They have spawned 5 times, but the eggs seem not to be fertilized. Soft water, 6.8 pH, 83 temp. Any ideas?
There it's we this lot. Did I just lose you? No.
But hopefully.
There we go.
There we go.
So sounds like everything is right. A lot of times the first 3 or 4 spawns with a pair of German blue rams is not successful. It takes a while for the parents to realize what they're actually doing. Mm-hmm. Did he say he had other fish in the tank?
He didn't.
Okay.
He just said he had the rams in the 20-gallon.
Okay, so a 20 long is a great tank for a pair of German rams. Sometimes maybe a dither fish might help. Mm-hmm. What I've generally found is you put a pair together. If they're compatible, you're going to get a spawn sooner or later that will hatch. Generally, it seems a little bit weird, but the male's going to tend the eggs at first, and then the female will. They kind of switch off.
Cool.
So I would just keep at it. You could go a couple degrees higher in temperature, but he sounds like he's got everything right. And then, feed some really good food, especially around breeding time.
I think Terry Lindsay saying that the place you're maybe thinking of was Aquariums West.
It is. That's the one right downtown.
That's right. That's a nice one.
Cool store.
That's very clean.
Yeah.
Susan for SLC Aquatics. Dean, are you working on any specific projects right now?
Well, I'm growing out a lot of stuff right now. So many of you, if you've seen some of the videos from the co-op, I've taken over Corey's Chardonnay puffers, and Preston, who I saw in the room, also brought me some. So I've got some younger ones growing and some older ones growing. Both are doing really good. Mm-hmm. And then I've also got the 397 plecos, which are the candy stripe ones.
Right.
I've got zebra plecos, which it seems like I've been growing them forever.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking that I have all males, but then I recently netted them all out. Yeah. And I definitely have different body shapes, so I'm fairly certain that I have males and females of them. Obviously the rams, the angels, some in the tank behind me. I've moved some out of the fish room where I can actually look at them and enjoy them a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And I've been spawning black autos lately.
Cool.
So there's always something going on.
There was a video that you had with Jimmy where you went into the store recently, and Amber Big City Bettas is wondering about those Betta macrosoma pair. Have you had any luck with them yet?
Yes. And I posted on my Instagram a short video of them doing their spawning dance, if you want, whatever you're going to call it, pre-spawning thing. They did spawn. The male was obviously holding eggs.
Yeah.
And long story short, when Corey and Jimmy were over on Sunday, everything looked good. The male obviously is not eating. Fed the female Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday morning, the male was dead.
Oh.
And on a whim, I almost didn't go to work that day, but they don't really have substitutes for culinary teachers.
Right.
So I wasn't very happy about that. Obviously, they're very expensive. I don't know why. There was no signs of trauma. He wasn't too skinny. The water was all good. Just sometimes this stuff happens. So on a whim, I took a paper clip, opened his mouth, and there were dead Frye in his mouth too.
Oh, man.
So it was sad. Yeah. But these things happen to everybody. Remember that, even me.
Yeah, I know. That's what I said to my wife. Like, see, I got to start another breeding project. Even Dean has problems, stuff like that. Hey, you also mentioned at the beginning of that video, I think it was that video, that you have spawned Harlequin rasporas. That's not a common fish that people spawn. What's the most oddball type of fish that you have successfully spawned?
Well, the rasboras was kind of totally by accident. Our fish club, we have auctions at the end of every meeting.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's bags of fish that aren't getting bid on. So, there's 6 rasboras that no one was bidding on. I bid $1, got the bag, brought it home. I put it in a tank. It was literally a bare tank with sponge filter.
Yeah. And
pretty much ignored them. I was thinking of using them for dither fish. Didn't really plan on spawning them. But I all of a sudden I had babies in there.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
So that was kind of a weird one for me, because I've spawned a lot of other tetras in the past. Black skirts, black neons, with Congo tetras. I spawned a lot of those in the past, but it was just to do it. It wasn't really to produce a ton of them, So oddball ones that I spawned, I don't really know. I think the other weirdest ones lately are the black autos.
Yeah, those are cool.
I just got a pair of them again at the club, and I have no idea. I just put them in a tank with a little bit of wood. It was a 10-gallon tank, matin filter in the back, and I had eggs 2 days after I brought them home.
Cool.
They're very similar to Cory eggs.
Speaking of tetras, as far as I know, you've been to Peru fish collecting twice. Is that correct?
Right.
Once with your wife and daughter, and once with Corey, Joseph, and Dwayne?
Right. That's right.
So in what ways were those 2 trips different from each other?
Well, the first trip with my wife and daughter was on the big river. So it was actually, we stayed on a riverboat, a flat bottom riverboat, and every day we moved about the river and its tributaries. So we went up into like the Rio Nene one time, and went for discus and angels, dwarf cichlids, and stuff like that. We went down the big river almost to the Brazilian border, but they try to stay pretty clear of that, because if you go over the border and come back and we've got fish on board, they would probably be confiscated.
Oh, really?
So the big river, it's massive in size. I mean, it dwarfs like the Mississippi even at flood stage.
Oh, yeah.
And so that trip was hot. The water was, you get in the water, it's like 84, 86 degrees, depending on where you jumped in at.
Yeah.
we experienced a lot of mud in terms of collecting. There was times when you would get stuck in the mud where you're literally crawling out on the mud to get out.
Really?
The bugs, except for in one place, were not bad at all. Now, the contrast with the second trip with Corey, with Corey, we went more into the mountainous area.
Mm-hmm.
We were staying in a central location with beds, working plumbing and all of that, warm showers. And our collecting was more like we'd load in a van every morning and do trips. So we might drive, between 2 and 4 hours to a location, collect fish, and then bring them back to our central hub. Did we lose you again? No. Not sure. I'm still seeing me, but I'm not seeing you. So if anybody's out there, oh, there we go. We froze. I got it.
I'm back.
You're back.
So okay, sorry about that, everyone. Okay.
Where did we lose you?
Did you get the question answered as far as Brazil?
So.
And okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now we'll go to Basshead 30. He's got a question. If you kept Bolivian rams and German rams, would they breed together in the same tank?
No.
Yeah.
They're different species. I've actually tried that in the past. The Bolivian ones get quite a bit bigger. I think the Bolivian ones are also calmer than German.
They're hardy. They're hardier too,
and very hardy.
Experience.
Yeah.
We've kept them together, and I appreciate you, Candy, for saying everyone hit the like button. I appreciate all the likes that are hit. Thank you very much. I also see Mile High Plecos is in the house here today, and I know what his question is going to be. It's going to be, Dean, what is your favorite type of pleco?
Probably the one that I don't have yet. I'm really interested in the L number plecos right now.
So am I. I'm obsessed with them right now.
So I have zebras, I have leopard frogs, I have the 397s. I just got some, what the guy called large spot 201s from, the guy Eric from Sacramento came up and talked to our club.
Oh, yeah. Oh, what's his last name? Starts with a B or Broderick, something?
Something like that. But anyway, so I'm really interested in them. The puffers, this is the first time I've ever kept puffers other than a pea puffer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm kind of fascinated with them right now also. But I will say there is nothing like a gold ancestris for controlling algae in your tanks.
Yeah?
Yeah, they just eat it immediately. Your tank walls are clean.
You breed super reds, I've seen in some of your... Do you sell them to the co-op?
When I have excess, yeah.
Okay, so I bought a couple. They're in this tank in May or June from the co-op. They could be from you.
They might be, yeah.
Oh,
there's another guy locally that breeds a lot of them also.
Okay.
So
cool. I've got another question here from tips on breeding apistos. Do you have any tips for breeding apistos?
Well, I tend to do the apistos similar to the rams, and you have to keep in mind that apistos in nature might be an annual fish, or at least every 2 years. They don't have a long lifespan. The Frye grow pretty rapidly, so I like to buy a group of, say, 6
Mm-hmm.
both sexes. Let them pair off by themselves. Almost always give them caves, and more than one choice. And they might not pick the choice that you give them. Usually run their water about 82 degrees. They do like tannins. A lot of them do anyway. So some Indian almond leaves or whatever else you have. And a 20 long is great for pairing them off. I've actually successfully spawned them many, many times with a pair in 5-gallon bear tanks with Java moss and a couple caves. For most people, a 20 long is going to give them that room that they need. Pencil fish, by the way, make really good dither fish for apistos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because their mouths aren't designed to eat fry.
Oh, that's cool.
So I love pencil fish with apistos.
By the way, I am jotting down questions in the chat as we go and trying to keep them all, get to them all. I also have a ton over here, but I just see one here that Brett Della has asked. How are the black rams doing? Those must be the ones that you got from Brendan Flynn.
Right. Brendan brought those in from Canada. I think he got them in Quebec or Montreal, somewhere back east in Canada.
Okay.
And I've got 2 pairs of them spawning now. The Frye are harder to raise than regular rams, and these rams are the meanest rams I've ever had in my life.
Really?
Yeah, so very aggressive to each other, and potentially, I mean, I've had some kill each other, literally.
Really?
And of the spawns I've got so far, I've kept 2 fish alive, and they are both gold as gold can be.
Cool.
So they are like a gold ram. So I'm not sure if there's some sort of recessive thing going on there. I don't really know. Or maybe they've been inbred so much that they're, or maybe their origin was gold rams. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So I'm still looking for really good success with them. I've got 2 spawns right now that are just in their first couple weeks of hatching, and we'll see how they go.
I'd never heard of them until I saw that video of you getting them, actually.
Yeah, they're like the next ram to have.
Right.
But in my opinion, I don't think they're going to be that popular.
I like the electric blue gold head rams.
Yeah,
I got some of them. I got some of them at the auction in the fall.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I didn't realize how nice they looked when I bought them because they were in the bag until I got them home and in the aquarium with the light on. I'm like, oh, yeah, I only bought a pair. I should have bought more.
Yeah, they're really nice. I just think that, a solid black fish is going to disappear in your fish tank.
Yeah.
Unless you have a super light substrate and a super light background and no place for it to hide. So it concerns me. I mean, these are going to be a vanity fish for a while, but then I think they're just going to kind of go away. I really do. I mean, if someone was to breed the gold head and gold fins into them, then I think
that'd be cool.
Right.
Your fish room. Did you build that fish room yourself?
Of course.
So every piece that nothing was contracted out, you built that room?
No. I actually used to be a general contractor years ago.
Really?
So I used to build houses and cabinets. We ran a cabinet shop and houses. And so I'm very good with my hands. I have tools. And not to put anybody in their place, but I was doing DIY before the king was born.
That's cool. I'm with you. I'm a tradesman too. I'm a sheet metal worker. I've got
nice.
custom-made sheet metal stands here.
That's awesome.
Your fish room is the cleanest one I've ever seen on camera. Do you find that the cleanliness is a key to your success for keep having so many successful spawns?
I think it helps, but I also am a believer in letting mulm develop in the tanks, especially for the dwarf cichlids and rams. I tend to get more successful spawns once there's a little bit of mulm that has developed. And I think that's because they know that the babies are going to feed off of that first. But going back to the cleanliness of the fish room, you know, that just is like 5 minutes a day. You know, you spend 5 extra minutes here and there. It's like I don't like the salt crud that the brine shrimp hatchers make. So mine are rinsed every single day. It takes 30 extra seconds, and so from that point of view, you know, that cleanliness is easy to keep up with if you just start keeping up with it. And we've lost him again somewhere, but he will come back, I'm sure. So maybe I can read something in the chat. So Kevin is asking, is it best to pull the parents of Apistos after a few weeks and leave the fry? Actually, you can do it either way. If you're going to take the fry from the parents, I would rather take the fry out of the parents' tank, so that the parents aren't disturbed.
Okay, I'm back.
I know. I just kept talking.
Yeah. I think maybe I had too many different things running on Wi-Fi here, and then
maybe. Yeah.
I switched my phone just over to data, so we should
hi,
be good.
Candy. I want to say hi to Candy.
Yes, Candy, the superstar. Yes, good. Everyone should always say hi to Candy. Okay, now, I wonder how many. Candy's a big Apistogramma fan. She's got the Apistogramma cockatoides, actually.
Right. I think she just got another type too. I can't remember what type.
What other type did you get, Candy? Maybe you can answer for us in the chat there. So today's live stream, we were talking earlier, Dean and I off camera, because Aquarium Co-op was on his live stream, Corey there, and his topic was the quarantine tank and do you need a quarantine tank? What is your process, Dean, for quarantining new fish into your fish room?
Well, okay, so I'm a little bit different than the guys that are going to quarantine every single thing that comes in, because I don't have like a quarantine room.
Yeah.
So with new fish that are bred locally, and most of the fish I buy are from local breeders or through a local store, I already know that the water is good, so it's going to be the same. So I don't have to really do that. So I'll give them a tank by themselves in the fish room. I'll usually treat them with the quote magic trio of medicines, the ICX, erythromycin, and what's the third one? General Care, something like that.
Yeah, you can't get that in Canada anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
but I bet they have it behind the counters.
Probably, because it's only been banned for like 2 months.
Yeah. So so I usually treat it with them, and then I deworm them with levamisole, which I get from Greg Sage Select Aquatics.
Oh yeah.
And then, you know, see how they're doing. It's a little bit different though when I brought fish back from the Amazon. In that case, I literally shut down about half the fish room to keep those fish and quarantine them, because you have no idea what you're bringing back. You know, whether it's parasite, probably what you're thinking most about is parasites in the gut and in the gills.
Right.
So those were quarantined a little bit longer, a little bit better.
Cool. Hey, that lungfish that you have in your fish room, is that the most unusual fish that you have?
Yes, right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Another fish that I had never heard of until I saw a video of.
Yeah, that was you know, one day we'll, I mean, everybody's kind of talked about it on videos, but the whole story's never been all in one place.
Yeah.
It's probably more of like an hour-long video, but when we first found that, I thought it might be because you're just seeing it rolling around in the seine, and the water in the seine's all muddy.
Yeah.
So we saw it, and there was one person looking for electric eel, so I didn't know whether to grab it or not at first, because if it's electric, you know, it's going to shock me.
Yeah.
So finally, I just reached in and grabbed it, and then I realized it's a lungfish, and everybody immediately wanted it.
Yeah.
But the way it kind of works on those trips is whoever puts it in the collecting bucket, it's their fish if they want it. So my daughter convinced us to keep it. It was 5.5 inches. Now it's almost 20 inches now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
Joseph's in the chat here, one of your fellow Peru.
JH.
Yeah, JH. There he is.
Yeah.
I have a question here about that I have been going over and over. Joshua Fishes is asking, is it possible to breed rams in an outdoor pond?
If it's warm enough, I would imagine. I've never done it, but rams are one of those fish that they've been so inbred that they have to have that higher temperature to be successful.
Yeah.
And one of the things I do when I'm selling them to the stores is I lower my temperature on those rams for sale so that they don't go from 86 or 84 to a typical store temperature of 78 to 80. So I will lower mine first for a couple weeks before they go to the stores. It just makes sense to do it that way.
Cool. You've met a bunch of famous fish people, from Gary Lang to Corey, and is there anyone out there that you knew you were about to meet that you got like starstruck before you met, or really anxious to meet?
Not yet.
Not yet. And
not yet.
Okay,
no,
and then
it's always exciting to meet him. And he has passed away now. I never met him in person, but it was Jack Watley. He passed away this last year. He was like the king of discus way back when. And I would have hour-long conversations on the phone with him about discus in the quote early days of discus keeping. But I always wanted to meet him, and I never had that chance.
Candy says she would be starstruck to meet you.
Nice.
Daniel's got a question here. He's currently breeding African cichlids, but what would you recommend as a good beginner? Maybe beginner one outside live bears, Dean.
A beginner fish?
Beginner fish to breed. Not counting
outside
live bears.
Live bears. I would pick Apistogramma cockatoides.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 reasons. They are fairly easy to sex. And 3 reasons, let's say. They're fairly easy to sex, they're fairly easy to breed, and you can always sell the fry.
Yeah, for good money too, right?
Sell or trade the fry, right? And they're cool looking fish. They do, when they get old, the males kind of do get big and ugly looking. But I think in reality, that's when you trade the males in for some fish too.
So you started, obviously you got your first fish when you were 6 or 7. It was a guppy, but you obviously didn't have a fish room right away. No. So how old were you when you got the fish room?
Well, my first official fish room, I was in my 20s.
Okay, and were you married?
I was attached.
To your current wife?
Yes.
Okay, and then what does she think of all this fish stuff?
She thinks I'm crazy sometimes. Although, it was her and my daughter that put that trip to Peru together.
Yeah.
The first
she
trip.
Must love you very much.
Yeah, that was for my 6-0 birthday.
Okay.
And all I knew in advance of that was we were going to the Amazon. About 2 weeks before the trip, I found out what trip we were going on, and it was a fish collecting trip.
Yeah.
And of course, I had to get like $600 worth of shots and immunizations to go the first time.
Oh, you did, eh?
Yeah, because I didn't have any of those things.
Yeah.
And they got right in the water the very first day and helped collect. So I will give it to them for that. So that was, my first official fish room was remade laundry room. And then the next one got a little bit better, bigger. And then this one that I have now, this would be officially my 3rd one. It got smaller. I need bigger.
Yeah. Um, so Dean, you're a master breeder. That's correct?
By whose standards?
That's what I'm wondering. So how do you become a master breeder? Is that like a rank that you get in your club, within your club?
Yeah, except for I don't participate in the BA pre program anymore.
Oh no, how come?
So, well, it's like I bred so many species last year that
Yeah.
I couldn't even catalog all of them.
Right.
And I would be going forward every meeting, getting awards, and there's new people that I'd rather help them with their plan.
Yeah.
So years ago, I did participate, but that was probably, I don't know, over 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And later, the name was basically put on me by all the different people that came over to film the fish.
Right.
So,
Okay.
but most clubs do have a BAP, Breeders Award Program,
Yeah.
where you can work up to that level of master breeder by just breeding so many fish.
So
So yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so what is your favorite fish?
That's hard. That's a hard one because I love the wild discus we collected.
Mm-hmm.
Love the wild angels we collected. The various plecos, and it seems like I've had rams in my stead for 30 years.
So you
So
take rams over angels?
yeah, but there's a but there. If you're working on breeding to help supply your fish room,
Yeah.
for profit, basically, take angels over rams.
Really? Just because
Yeah,
they're easier?
they're easier. Both of the fish will sell all the time.
Yeah.
Pick a good strain of angels, and breed them over rams. You'll be able to fund your fish room.
I've got a question from Aqua Golly here. Hey Dean, if you were to breed and raise Betta Splendens, would you change anything about the way it's usually done?
I actually have done that.
Okay.
One thing that I wish would not happen is they would not start fighting at about 1 inch where you have to jar them all separately.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great if you could take them and grow them to saleable size all together, but you can't. They will start eating each other's fins and picking on each other. I found, I mean, there's kind of a couple different ways. A 5-gallon tank works great to pair them off or to put a
Yeah.
pair in. Pick your best male, have the females in a sorority, and pick the one that is ready, because you'll have eggs within a day or so.
Cool.
And then take the female out, let the male do his thing. Once the eggs hatch, take the male out and start feeding the fry.
Joseph had a question there, but I missed it. So Joseph JH, please repeat the question and we'll get to that. In the meantime, Dean, how did you meet Corey?
By walking into his shop. Actually, no, that's not true. I knew Corey from the fish club before he had the shop.
Oh yeah.
So, we were both members of GSAS, and so I met him there before he had the shop. And then later he got the shop, and it wasn't until about a year after he had the shop that I ever went up there to take any fish to him.
Okay.
So,
And then how did the Peru trip come along? Like, I've heard from Joseph that it was actually Bob Steamfot's idea, who never ended up going.
right.
So how did it get together, like the four of you guys?
Well, the first trip, Corey knew about. I invited him on that trip, but the timing wasn't right. And at that point in time, Bob and him had already decided to go the next year.
Right.
And so as that year progressed, all of a sudden Bob couldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael, the guy that put on the trip, contacted me, asked me if I wanted to come again. And it just worked out with our schedules. So I talked to Corey, and he said, yeah, you go ahead and go because Bob's not going to go. And then there was a little bit of stuff going on where I wasn't to contact Michael because Michael thought that Bob was in charge of the trip. And then finally, Bob told Michael, just do it with Dean and Corey. And that's how it came to be. And it was tremendous fun. I mean, you can't imagine the fun that we had.
So you would definitely go again?
Yeah, we had so much fun. Joseph, man, we laughed so many times. Can't believe it. And he still owes me a pizza.
And then I thought maybe Dustin will go with you because I know he's been, and then he went and had a tour of your.
Dustin came here one time. He was out here for, I think, one of the reef events.
Okay.
And another guy from the club whose name has evaded me, but he does that. He has that YouTube channel about the secret history.
Oh yeah, secret history living in
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Secret history living inside your aquarium.
Yeah, Alex was driving Dustin all around town and arranged for Dustin to come by here. Yeah.
Cool. We've got Joseph's question here, Dean.
Okay.
Have you got any Frye from the Apistogramma
Rubuliniata?
Rubuliniata.
Yes. They're very, very small right now, but I have about 4 pairs in a tank of, I think there's like 20 of those Apistos in that tank.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 4 pairs that have just picked a corner or a spot. They're spawning regularly. I just have not taken the Frye out. So most of the Frye get eaten by the other fish in there. Oh. But if this one batch makes it to this weekend, I'm going to pull them out.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you did touch on the L46 zebra plecos that you've got there.
Yes.
Have you had any luck breeding them yet?
Not yet. I've had them. I've had zebra plecos 3 times. First time was about, I don't know, I'm guessing 15 years ago when they first came in the hobby.
That must have been pricey.
They were actually back, but well, yeah, they were, because they were $60 each, and we thought we were being ripped off. I mean, but now I would pay $60 for any of them. You know? So
they're about 100 an inch, right?
Yeah, or more. You know, and I think they're going to end up getting scarce again, because even though they're being bred in captivity now, I don't think it's, you only get 10 or 15 eggs at a time with zebra plecos, so it's not a commercially viable fish, except for that fact that they're always going to sell, and they're going to sell for big money. And you just went away again. Oh, you're back.
There we go. Yeah, that was. I think you were frozen that time.
Oh, maybe I was. Yeah.
But we're back. Okay. So where did we end up with the zebra pleco?
Oh, we finished them. We're
What about the L134? Have you had those breed?
The leopard frog ones?
Yeah.
No, and I have 13 of them. They're all ready to breed. The females are fat and happy, but I just haven't been able to trigger them.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with TNM Aquatics.
Yeah, he's breeding them like crazy.
He is, yeah. I know. Like it was like 2 weeks later, and then he had another spawn. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom wanted me to ask you how the zebras were going.
Yeah. So so whatever he's doing, copy it, because he's doing something that's working.
What's the biggest mishap that you've ever had in the fish room or in the fish hobby?
That I created, or that created itself?
Either way.
So obviously, if you have fish tanks and you're doing central plumbing and all of that, you're going to end up with water on the floor sooner or later from doing something wrong. And I've done that. I've had where, I forgot to glue that. It was test fit, and you fill everything up, and then all of a sudden you realize you've got 75 gallons of water on the floor.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
not terrible. It's not
the,
like you have a massive fish dying.
yeah, I have had a massive fish dying back in the 90s when we had what everybody called the discus plague.
Right.
Um, they felt like it was caused by the imported discus, not locally bred.
Mm-hmm.
And when you got it, it pretty much killed everything in your fish room, and there's nothing that we could figure out to treat it.
Oh no.
It affected mainly discus and angels. At that time, I was also doing some of the smaller Africans and a lot of dwarf cichlids and rams. So the ones that I lost was discus angels and rams. I pretty much kept everything else alive. I wasn't doing any catfish or plecos back then. No one really was, hardly.
Yeah. No, that back then. So I was 13 when I started, just like
Right.
selling guppies. So that would have been about 1993.
Yeah,
And
back in that area.
it was mostly common plecos.
Right.
Bristlenose were kind of just starting to
Right.
come out.
Right.
There's a question here about plants. You're not a huge plant guy, right? You've got the bare bottom tanks, right?
Right. Most of my tanks are bare bottom.
Would you suggest there's a question here about best beginner plant, not including Java moss?
Oh, if we can't include Java moss,
Yeah.
then you got to get Java fern or guppy grass.
Okay.
Or those moss balls. They hardly ever die.
Yeah.
Um,
So
actually, no.
Yeah.
In the past, I have had some planted tanks. I've had some really cool planted tanks. It's really hard to breed and have planted tanks if you're looking at breeding to sell those fry, because separating the fry from the plants is a mess.
That's a good point. So does that mean the AGA conference is going to be in Washington in May? Are you going to go?
I signed up for everything already.
So you're going?
Yeah, and I'm actually going to. Well, they say I'm going to be hosting one of the events.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a plant guy.
Okay. Cool.
And so I don't know which one it is. I think it's one of the aquascaping things.
Yeah.
Where I can take audience questions for the guy and kind of relate them to him in a non-plant type person form.
Well, that's cool. Then I guess we'll get to meet face to face for that one.
Yeah, and
I'm probably going to be down at that one.
Oh, it'll be fun. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
Most of the what do you call it? Not the seminars, but the special seminar things.
Yeah.
Are already sold out. But there's still some tickets for the banquet and obviously for the entrance.
And the auction's the last day, right?
Yeah, on Sunday. And they've also added a whole nother room for vendors. So they've got a record number of vendors want to come.
Cool.
So
I got a question from Devin Peppers here, wondering about what is the best type of pleco to breed in a 20-gallon tall, but he would like to not do bristle nose if possible.
The answer to that would be any of the ones we've talked about, the L333s, the leopard frogs. I wouldn't invest in the zebras in that small of a tank.
Yeah.
Any of those, if you had a pair, would spawn into that. I mean, I'm doing L333s. I have 3 males and 2 females in a 20 long.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got 3 caves, basically 1 for each male. And then the females go wherever they're enticed. And I've been spawning them in that tank for over 1.5 years now with no problems. And
you sell those ones to Aquarium Co-op, right?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got some juvenile that I got out, the L66 King Tiger ones, the white and black. I got those ones in the spring, but they're pretty slow growing, I'm finding.
One of the things you have to realize is when you're talking about some of the more, let's just call it the more expensive or exotic plecos, if your intent is to breed them, you got to be in it for the long haul. You know, when I first got the L333s, I got them at a pretty good size, like 2.5 inches.
Okay.
It was 2.5 years before I spawned them.
Yeah, mine aren't even that big.
Yeah, so so it's a maturing thing. You got to mature those fish and get them used to your water. I didn't do anything special to their water. I just used our normal tap water, and but most people don't spend enough time growing the fish out. They give up. Yeah.
I got a question here from Jamie McDonald saying, are there any fish that you've tried to spawn and not been able to? Maybe something besides the leopard or the zebra pleco?
Oh, tons. I couldn't even name them all. I've tried the red pencilfish 3 or 4 times to have no success, where the other pencilfish, they're a piece of cake.
Yeah.
I've tried lots of different tetras. I've never been successful with dwarf cories like the habrosus.
Oh yeah.
Where other people, it's easy.
What about panda cories? Have you bred those?
I've done panda cories. Yeah. The regular, the albino cories, I've done them.
Oh yeah, the albinos. Yeah.
At one point, I got those. What are they calling the all black cories? The Venezuela?
I think so.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I imported some of them, and I couldn't successfully get them to spawn. So there's more failures always than successes. You just have to live with that.
That's what keeps you going. I want to get the Adolfo. I think that's how you say it. Adolfo panda. Adolphi. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that panda. Yeah, that's a cool one.
April's got some of those, but they're a little on the steep side, and I might just use all my money for clown loaches.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see. Clown loaches have never successfully been bred in captivity.
Yeah, so they wouldn't be something for you.
Without hormones. Some of them, some of them have been done with hormones. So,
actually, my question here that I have here is: you use cories as your cleanup crew. What is your favorite type of cory?
I don't have a favorite. I mean, I love sturbays, but some of these ones we brought back from Peru are turning out to be really cool. These little, I think they're C123s. We caught them on a golden beach sandbar, and their tails are kind of yellowish in the right light.
That's cool.
Beautiful little fish. That's another one that I have not spawned yet I have enough of them to spawn. There's so many varieties. I mean, right now, I think I counted the other day, I have 12 different species of cories in the fish room.
Wow.
So, of those 12, there's 3 of them that are actively spawning.
That's cool.
And another in that family are the Aspidoras. I really like those catfish.
Yeah, those are cool.
Yeah. I have 1 variety of them in the fish room right now.
I'm a catfish fan too. I like the petricolas. I keep those.
Yeah.
I wasn't always into the cories, but my son is really into the cories. So I try and stay into the cories because he's got his own tank with the albinos and stuff. But now I'm starting to collect more and more types of cories just because he likes them. I've got a question from Priscilla MK Art. What is your bucket list fish, Dean?
To have, you can have this fish, but I can't have this fish.
Oh, the Asian arowana?
Yeah, I would still. Now, as the story goes, years ago, I think before they were basically not legal in the United States, I had 2 of them.
Really?
And they are an amazing fish. Now they've been selectively bred for better color, better scales. They're microchipped, they're farmed raised, so why can't we have them? But we can't. And so if I were to move to Canada full time, that'd be the first fish I'd be getting.
We were talking off air the other day about how the red-bellied piranhas are illegal in Washington State.
Yeah.
Kind of a funny story.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
So the way I've heard that it happened in the state is we have a little lake here down. It's called Green Lake. It's kind of just off of I-5.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a man-made lake, although a lot of people don't know it was man-made. It was man-made years ago. It's not very deep, and it was primarily designed originally as kind of to help control some of the runoff. So there was a little creek coming in and a little tiny one going out. But pretty much the lake stagnated and got really warm in the summertime. And people would swim in it. And apparently one hot summer day, you know, they would also fish in it, mostly for perch and stuff. Someone caught a red-bellied piranha. And all of a sudden, that fish is not legal in Washington anymore. Now, obviously, there's no way that our temperatures would let that fish winter over.
Yeah.
But this is how things happen with fish getting on these lists. All it takes is one mishap. And chances are someone just turned it loose from their aquarium and someone caught it. You know?
Pat and John says that I have some of. My dad says you have some of my puffers. How are they? I do not have any of your puffers. I do. Never owned a puffer fish in my life, actually.
That's Preston John's son, I believe, and I do have some of his dad's puffers.
Oh, he's asking you that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I met Preston John. He came up and visited the co-op, and I went up and met him, and he hooked me up with some of his tank bred puffers. So that was very cool.
We haven't spent a lot of time on angelfish, but if I had to ask you what your favorite angelfish is, what would that be?
Well, my favorite of all time is the Altum angels. They are absolutely gorgeous, but I don't keep any of them. I love to see them. I have a group of what they kind of call the Peruvian Altums that we wild caught in Peru. That was the first trip, and I think there's 4, 8. I think I have 12 of those, and they're getting up to the size where I believe they could be breeders.
Yeah.
But they're basically, you know, your silver with black stripes, but they're a wild caught angel. And then of course I've been working on the ones behind me in that tank, which are, we call them the super red koi angels. And
those are the ones you're trying to breed the white out of?
I'm still trying to get the white out. I'm getting better and better every time, or every successful spawn. So I've got some gorgeous ones of those right now, and I'll probably continue working with those. What a lot of people don't realize is what I'm trying to do with those fish has already been done in Germany.
Right.
You know, so they're a little bit ahead of us over there. And that's kind of always been the case.
Yeah, they kind of start with the rams and everything, right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Right.
Got a question from Vanessa V. Will a single female German blue ram be happy in mixed community 29-gallon tank? I had a disease go through the tank and she is the only fish left.
She'd be okay, but get her a male someday.
Yeah, just to keep her company,
right? I mean, rams are pretty peaceful fish. They get more aggressive at breeding time.
Yeah.
And a female, if fed well, is going to fill up with eggs no matter what. Not going to be able to stop that. So get her a boy someday.
A lot of questions in here about the shots required to go to Peru. Are there a lot of shots, Dean, that you have to get?
Well, okay, so the first year that I went, I had to get hepatitis A, B, yellow fever, tetanus, I think typhoid was pills that you take. And then we had to take malaria pills when we were there. So I hadn't had any of those in 100 years. My daughter, conversely, she was 21 at that time, had all but one growing up. So she's like, you know, I'm getting poked full of holes, and she's like, oh, I only have to get one. The second year when I went, all I had to do was do the malaria pills because
Right.
the shots last for a long, long time. Some of them are lifetime.
Yeah. I see
So
Joseph
and
went rogue and decided not to get any shots.
yeah, you know, and it'd be just my luck that then you would get the
Exactly.
the one bug that had that. But the reason it cost me so much is because the insurance doesn't cover that if you're traveling.
Right.
Mine didn't at that time anyway. So
I got a good question from Daniel here. He's wondering, out of the fish you breed, what are the 3 best fish at not eating their own fry?
none of them.
They'll all go after him, eh?
Well, I mean, I was even thinking, okay, I've been doing that one.
Shrimp are pretty good at eating
Shrimp
them.
are pretty good. Yeah, but those aren't fish though.
Yeah.
You know, guppies will eat their fry.
Yeah.
Rams will eat their fry or their eggs. Apistos will. Angels will. The challenge is to set up the condition so that they don't. But even then, it doesn't always happen. I mean, rainbows. You know, I do some rainbows. They eat their fry too.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we haven't even talked about rainbows yet.
Yeah, and so there's not really one that doesn't. However, I did notice the black ottos do not eat their fry.
There are some people that say that autos are 100% vegetarian too.
Yeah, however, what happened with my black ottos is I brought a pair back, put them in a 10-gallon tank. They laid eggs. Those fries hatched. They started growing. They laid eggs. Those fries hatched. They started growing. I didn't move any of them out.
Yeah.
By the fourth spawn, the oldest babies started cannibalizing the eggs.
Mm.
So they didn't really eat the fry, but they cannibalized the eggs. And I'm sure it was just a food thing, you know.
Those black autos, they're like the zebra autos?
No, they're officially called the Niger black olives or black autos.
Okay.
So, olives, autos. And I just Googled them. They're a completely different species. They don't even have the same name as the common autos that we see in the stores.
Cool. So your wife is kind of, she's supportive. She thinks you're crazy, but she went on the trip to Peru. Your daughter's a discus fan, correct? How involved is she in the hobby?
She has just in the last year graduated college, moved into a house with her boyfriend. Yeah. And she likes what she really likes is plecos.
Yeah.
And she has a group of the mini musk turtles.
Oh yeah.
And those are her 2 favorite fish. And so like just this last Sunday, she keeps track too. So I was keeping a few of her plecos that we lost, right?
Yeah.
So just this last Sunday, I'm getting text messages and phone calls from her. And I'm like, but I was busy, so I wasn't responding. Yeah. And I finally did. I said, what do you need? She says, well, I'm at Wet Spot in Portland, right?
Oh, really? Cool.
Right? And they have 2 of those plecos that you killed of mine.
Which kind were they?
Paraplecos.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Really cool looking pleco.
Yeah.
I didn't really kill them. They just died in my tanks, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah.
And she says, are you going to repay the debt? And I'm like, okay, fine. So those are her favorite. And she is probably better at watching and doing than doing the water changes and all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Where was I here? We just missed a question here. Oh, somebody commenting about how cribs are good parents.
Cribs are really good parents. And you know, there's so many different species of those that are really more colorful than the common crib.
Yeah.
And they're really fun to watch raise babies.
I think the common cribs are pretty colorful too, especially
they are,
the
especially in
fins.
breeding color. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite or your most colorful rainbow fish that you have, or from Gary Lang?
Well, the one that fascinates me the most is the Pracox rainbow. So I have his line from that he's raised, and I've also got some Melandas and a few others, but I always come back to the Pracox again because they always sell.
Yeah.
And they don't get too big. You know, they're
smaller one.
They're a dwarf rainbow. So
and they look pretty nice when they're small too. Like the Bosemani, I like the Bosemani. I've got a few in here.
I love those too.
But when they're small, they're pretty plain.
Right.
You don't know how nice they're going to be until they get older.
Right.
So you're a culinary teacher.
Yeah, I am.
In a high school or college or
high school?
High school.
Yep.
Was there any thought of just doing the fish thing full time and not doing that, or do you love? You seem to the couple conversations we've had before this and today, like I could listen to you talk about anything. You like teaching, right?
Well, you know, the culinary is fun.
Yeah.
If I could do the fish full time, I probably would.
Yeah.
But you know, the culinary is kind of my second career, or third or fourth, depending on how many careers you want to think.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of fun. And speaking of culinary, don't go away. I'll be back in 30 seconds because I think I left a pan on.
Okay, we will.
Okay.
We're back in here. All right, I'm just writing down questions as I go here. I'm pretty much done my questions, but if you guys had a few more questions, Jamie, I'm going to get to your question. Your question is next on the agenda. Hopefully Dean doesn't burn his house down as he's checking to make sure that his pan is not on. But this, man, I've had a great time. This guy's got so much knowledge. It's awesome. So, yeah, he should do marine biology 808 tanks. I totally agree. I guess right now we'll take some time to talk about because we're just going to wrap up here unless some people have some more questions. But next week we have got Bob Steenfot on, same time. He will be here at 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. Dean, we were just mentioning Bob will be here next week, 7 o'clock Pacific Time. He's our guest next week. Yeah. And we did have a question from Jamie McDonald. Before we let you go, we are going to kind of wrap things up. But Jamie's wondering how you feel about hybrid fish such as flower horns.
Not a big fan. And someone had asked me this on Instagram a while back. There is a difference between hybrid and line bred.
Yes.
So if you think about all of our fancy guppies are a line bred fish. Mm-hmm. They've been line bred for years. All of our colorful angelfish are line bred. Mm-hmm. They're not taking two fish and crossing them together, two different species. This is one of the things I've talked with Gary Lang a little bit about the fish farms letting the rainbows all breed together. And you end up getting hybrid rainbows that aren't really found in nature. So, you know, I mean, but at the same time, those fish do have their place. There's people that love those. And if it gets people into the hobby, you know, you can't really say it's wrong. I just not that big into them.
Kind of like glowfish, if you're into it, I guess.
Hey, glowfish.
Brennan Sharrow is wondering, what's a safe length of time to leave ram with the fry? The parents with the fry for rams.
I generally would leave them with the parents. Okay, maybe let me back up a little bit. If I'm going to raise them away from the parents, I take the eggs away. Mm-hmm. If I'm going to raise them with the parents, which is a sight to see, it's worth seeing, I'll leave them with the parents until they're eating baby brine shrimp for about 3 or 4 days. By the way, the best way to get them out of the tank with the parents is not a net, and it's not a baster. It's just creating a siphon with an airline tube.
Oh,
and
yeah.
literally just sucking them out of the tank.
Do they get caught in the net?
No, I siphon them into a plastic container.
Okay.
And then move them to where I want to move them.
Good evening, Bentley. We know that you have got a video coming out.
Bentley's in the house
as well. Bentley is in the house.
Nice.
Daniel's got another question. How do you tell the difference between internal parasites and worms?
They're basically the same. I mean, most internal parasites are a form of a worm.
So you would treat them the same way?
Yeah, but maybe with the parasites, you might have to add some antibacterial type medicine.
Yeah.
With the worms, you want a dewormer.
Right.
Generally speaking, you're going to see stringy feces.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be your number one telltale, and lack of appetite.
There was something that you had said in your video, I think with Brendan, when he was touring your fish room, about keeping everything clean, and we kind of touched on that before. How do you keep your instruments clean?
Instruments, like I just rinse them in water.
You just rinse them in chlorinated water?
Yeah. Well, there's not a lot of chlorine in my water. I mean, I could do 50% water changes with no prime or anything like that, and the fish would be fine. The chlorine level is so low, and I don't have any chloramines yet.
Right on.
So,
what's the best fish food for Apistogramma fry?
Live baby brine shrimp.
And you harvest your own, right?
Hatch my own every day, every single day of the week.
So, Dean, we have gone a little bit over the 1 hour that I requested. I appreciate all your time here. Dean he's going to be in a few more videos of some people coming up. He's going to be in one of Bentley's. He's going to be in a bunch more of Corey at Aquarium Co-op, and a bunch of Swisky. Those are Jimmy's channel, right? I don't know. Turtle Girl, maybe you're going to be in one of hers.
Maybe Lucas, and maybe the Turtle Girl.
Maybe Lucas. That must have been fun. Hey, when Lucas
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that looked like a fun live stream. I caught the last 45 seconds of it.
Yeah, I mean, us setting up for that was like a calamity, though. we moved my furniture around, and I had to find lights, and I don't know if anybody took Jimmy probably has behind the scene pictures of how we did all that.
Yeah, he probably does.
Yeah. So.
Well, thank you so much, Dean. And it's a bummer to me that I'm finding out that AJ is mostly sold out because I've been slow on the uptake. Yeah. But you know what? Maybe we will run into each other some other time when you're on your way up here. Maybe you'll bring some fish that could be purchased.
There you go. That might work someday.
Yeah, for sure. And also when I'm coming down, because I come down I'll be down to the Aquarium Co-op in the spring.
Oh, great. Yeah.
All right.
Maybe we'll
Thanks again. That would be awesome.
You got it.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you to the mods. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks to everyone spending your time, spending your evening here, dropping a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. And next week, we've got Bob Steamfot at the same time. So join me next week for another edition of Friday Fish Facts.